When I was 17, I had cancer and I had lost all of my hair. I was very upset by this, despite the fact that back in the day I had kept a low taper fade essentially, and I just wanted to make sure I had waves and my hair was looking neat and nice. And I was devastated that I had lost the majority of my hair. I wouldn't grow back because of the chemo treatment that I was on, and I was very upset by this. It messed me up deeply. During the time when I was in the hospital, I had urged my friends to visit me. I had expressed on Facebook, I had said, "Hey guys, I'm going through cancer treatment. I would love it if you guys hung out with me." And they said, "We're going to do our best to hang out with you." So they came and saw me, and they all gave me their pleasantries, they said their goodbyes, and they left. And I was alone for a large part of that. A large part of that I was alone, dealing with myself, learning what really mattered in my life, learning what I did in my life to make it matter, because I had thought that it was the end of my journey. I thought I was going to exit this plane of existence and I was no longer going to be here. I simply was trying to make peace with myself. That is all that I wanted to do. One day, another kid came in that had cancer as well, and every single day he would come in. Well, every single day he would speak to me. He would say, "I'm gonna be an angel." And I said, He was much younger than me. I said, "You're gonna be an angel?" He said, "That's right." And we had a feather pillow. Who every day he would take the feathers out and he would glue them together and say, "I'm getting my wings ready." And I said, "Are you sure you're getting your wings ready?" He said, "Yep." And he would tell me all these stories, all these tales. He would say about this guy that was super cool and super strong and super fun and super fast, about this woman who is nurturing and fair, not giving descriptions of their actual titles, just saying who they were based on descriptors. Later I discovered that that guy who was super strong was his dad, and that woman who was super nice was his mother, and that girl who was strange and annoying was his sister. That strange and annoying girl turned into somebody that cared for him deeply, and his family had deeply cared about this kid. And after a month of being in the hospital, I no longer saw the kid. He was gone, truly, from this existence. Me thinking my journey was going to be over, I began to pull feathers out of the pillow to get my wings ready. I thought that that was where my life was going to head. Obviously, that is not what happened. And after that, I decided to never cut my hair, truly. I didn't want to be bald again. The baldness reminded me of the cancer. I didn't want that. It scared me. It made me feel weak. It made me feel small. I had lost so much weight. I had lost everything. After physical therapy, I decided, even if a job doesn't hire me, I want to keep my hair. And then I discovered something very fun. If I were to have passed, what would my friends have said about me? What would have happened after that? What would my memory have been on this planet? What would have happened? And I started to grow my hair out. I got crazier, more wild, and more intense. I started doing these things. Then I discovered something. Nobody cared that my hair was growing out. No one cared that I had this crazy hair. No one cared. And I wanted everyone to take note of me, my big hair, so I started to color it as an expression of, "Hey, look at me, remember me, tell a story about me, please." I so desperately wanted to be in people's minds. I just wanted that. And I had discovered something very intimate, that nobody cared. Not a single person cared that I had this hair. They didn't care about me. They didn't care about my hair. They didn't even give me a passing glance for the most part. They didn't care. So I had started to do crazy, wild things to make a tale for myself. I started to say yes to everything. "Do you want to cut? Yes. Do you want to? Yes. Do you want to? Yes." And I actually had stories. And before I had stories, but these were more intense, more crazy, more wild, more vicious, more wacky. I had tales to tell people. I created and fostered a piece for myself, so I wanted to be a part of people's memory. But then I discovered something even deeper than that. I wanted them to get to know me. I wanted friends, more intimate connections with people that were platonic. That's all I wanted. And I discovered something even deeper than that. No one cared. I had discussed one time with my ex-lover the intricacies of how I felt like nothing on the grand scheme of things, about how my cosmic indifference and how the sun doesn't care, the moon doesn't care, the earth doesn't care, so I have to care about myself, and it made me feel small. And she looked at me and said, "You're a bit much." Those words rang out in my ear over and over and over and over again. "You're a bit much. No one cares." And that hurt. That hurt me deeply. It made me feel like no one genuinely cared. It made me feel like no one cared. It made me feel like I was too much and I should tone it down. For the first time in quite some time, I cut my hair. And when I cut it, I cried. I cried for 3 days. I called off work. My work didn't care. I almost lost my job because I called off. And it was sad. It was very sad. I couldn't take a break. I didn't have the freedom to take a break. I didn't have the freedom to deal with myself. And I was running out of time, it felt like. I felt more worthless when I had my hair than when I didn't during cancer. And it put me back in that mind space. It put me back in that moment where I was running out of time, where I didn't even know where I was rushing towards, when I had to think and reevaluate my life. I had to think for a second and say, what am I doing? I'm so happy that I had that moment, because I think that my father, my mother, and even the random person I met at the subway station probably thought that same exact thought one time. And that great quiet battle with oneself where they asked themselves, what am I doing? It made me excited to be a part of this experience. There's this phenomenon where I discovered that people get in their own headspace and they say, everybody's looking at me. I'm scared. I began to realize that nobody was looking at me. I looked around and saw no eyes on me. Not a single person was gazing in my direction. And that made me feel great, because that means that since nobody is listening and nobody is looking, that means I can take away the social anxiety that I had, that everybody was judging me. That anxiety deep inside of my soul that I had, that everybody thought about every one of my actions and picked them apart like I was pinned to the dish and I was a butterfly, and they were a scientist with a scalp head figuring out every piece of me, trying to figure out what I am. I didn't have that anymore. That didn't exist, because that's not realistic. That's not a realistic mindset to have. What's realistic is knowing deeply inside of yourself that that is not happening. Everyone is not watching you. People are not watching you. Nobody cares about you. So you have to care about yourself. Sure, your friends will care about you to an extent. Sure, your family will give their pleasantries. But the most important actor outside of your support system, whether it be strong or weak, the most important actor is the main character in this stage play that is the great performance of your life. You need to be a part of this, invested in it, because nobody cares about you. The earth doesn't care about you. Your father, your mother, your lover can only care about you to an extent. They can put you first for sure, but at the end of the day, they can't put you first until they put themselves in a good headspace to be able to deal with it. You have to put yourself first, because nobody, and I mean nobody, cares about you. And that is a hard truth to have to conceptualize inside of your mind. That's a hard truth to have to deal with all the time. When somebody wants to be around you, when somebody wants to deal with you, they will deal with you on their own time. When I had cancer, I was running out of time. People dealt with me on their own time, even when I had none. People didn't visit me at the droves and bounds. I didn't have this great support system. I had me, and I beat cancer. I did it. You could say that it was some divine entity, some power like God or Jesus or something of that variety, but I didn't pray. I did it. I'm so happy that I did it. It gave me a sense of personal agency that allowed me to be a person. I did this. I beat this thing about myself, and I did it. I'm so happy that I had that personal agency, that ability to look inside of myself and say to myself, I was able to overcome myself. That's something that I thought I was lacking. Nobody cares. And that is something that you have to deal with about yourself.